hard to have an effect. What do you guys think? Becca's here and Kate's here. Kim counted 7 people that we have, 7 singers. I would go ahead and try it. Okay, you want to run through it now? I don't know if we have time to do the whole thing, but we can certainly do it. That's okay. We got to start singing this in 3 minutes. They're going to do the announcement. Stay down here.
We'll just kind of huddle around here.
Yep.
We said this is the primary time.
That's okay. Go ahead, do that intro again. Here we go.
Good morning, and welcome to the First Unitarian Church of St. Louis. I'm Jan Herzog, and I use she, her pronouns. I'll start over. Good morning and welcome. I'm Jan Herzog, and I use she, her pronouns. I'm a member of the worship committee. If you're a visitor or newcomer, we'd like to extend a very special welcome. We're glad to be here together this Sunday, whether in person or online. If you are new to our congregation, please be sure to fill out a community card. I meant to get an example. Oh, here. A community card that looks like this, found in the pews. You can also fill this out if you've been here a long time and you want to tell us about new interest for volunteering. If you're online, click on the link in the live stream description. After service, please join us downstairs in Fellowship Hall for coffee and donuts. We welcome families with children. Families with children are invited to connect with the RE committee and Reverend Sabrina Trupia, our Minister of Congregational Life, after the service for more information about our RE program. If you are attending online, please, you can connect with each other in the chat, and don't forget that the link for virtual coffee hour can be found in your weekly e-news. We have a few announcements this morning. First Unitarian is proud to host Forward, Attainable Housing, From Talk to Focused Action, that's the whole title, on March 25th from 7:30 to 9 a.m. The program, convened by Construction Forum, features regional practitioners delivering housing solutions. Attendance is free, but registration is required. See the e-news to sign up. Second, join First U members and friends of the Missouri History Library and Research Center for a presentation by Brady Wolf, curator of Indigenous Collections, Saturday, April 11th at 9 a.m. As part of our education on the history of this land and the people displaced from it, see your e-news to RSVP. The Hungarian Unitarian Church is organizing pilgrimage to Transylvania and Poland. Flyers for these trips are posted in the ramp room on the Partner Church bulletin board. For more information, contact Kimberly Perry or any member of the Partner Church Committee. Today, after service, there will be a newcomer chant in the Dotson room at 11:30, which is directly outside these doors. Also today at 11:30, but in the chapel, which is down that hallway, there will be a discussion of First Unitarian's ICE policy. Now please center yourself in preparation for worship. Okay, no prelude. I got that down. Seriously, welcome to this religious community where we affirm the worth and dignity of all who enter. We gather in community, understanding we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, identity, and theology. Our values invite us to a shared journey of truth and meaning making. Together, we foster a spirit of gratitude and generosity so all may feel welcome and all can thrive. We are glad you are with us this morning. Please enjoy our prelude by Pastorale by Sidney Watson, performed by Alan Hoffman.
Good morning. I am the Reverend Sabrina Trupia. My pronouns are they, them, and I serve as the Minister of Congregational Life. Our theme for the month is paying attention. We enter into worship with these words by Samantha Lynn Wilson. A call to worship is secretly a call to focus our attention. Choosing to focus our attention is countercultural. Daily, we are called to worship at the altar of many devices, surveillance systems we let take lead over our every waking moment. We are called by headlines to set purely on our activation and by tools that gamify our every human connection. We are not called, we are led. We're not led. We're entrapped. Instead, here, we practice being called. We're called to bring our attention to the altar of unpredictable human relatedness. We are called by these ancestors, this wood, this room's particular light, this chalice's particular fire, once it's lit, and these children. We are called to focus all our attention on a foolhardy and open-hearted commitment to share a future together we cannot cancel nor control. In the words of poet farmer Wendell Berry, we are called here to do something today that does not compute. Spirit of life, call our collective attention to this precise moment, the threshold between then and now, the moment upon which we hang our honest promises like portraits, chiseled and framed by our own hands, imperfectly and together. Come, let us worship together. And now, Joel.
Last week, we had congregational participation in the music with Nick Page, and it went so well that we're going to do it twice this morning. Our first hymn is found in your bulletin, Where Do We Come From? And we're going to sing it as a round. We'll sing it once all together in unison, and then we're going to divide you into the sunny side of the choir or the congregation and the piano side. And the sunny side is going to start first, and after they've done the first line, the piano side is going to start at the beginning. We'll sing that 2 times through. Once you start the round, we'll sing it twice. So if you're willing and able, stand and we'll sing this lovely hymn.
Each Sunday after we light the chalice, we sing a response, some original music from congregants and some from other artists, some from our hymnal. We sing a different song each Sunday of the month. and the same songs each month. This is the second Sunday, so we are singing The Source of Wisdom by Chris, where'd he go? Coker. And our chalice lighting words are by Lori Stevens. With this chalice, may we kindle the flame of our attention. Not too fiery or wild, spreading without cause or care, not too dim or fading, unfocused and ineffective, but like a cheerful cook fire in a cozy hearth, like a comforting candle. Is it? Flickering yet steady. May our attention be befriended, directed, and sustained for the betterment of all humankind.
I am sure that you were given, as you enter the sanctuary, a choice between choosing a fidget or a little, glass bead, like the ones that you put in the Joys and Concern, but a different color. You can still, I think, put them in the Joys and Concern if you want after this. The theme of the month is paying attention. And I thought that one way that we learn to pay attention is by doing mindfulness practices. It's not boring. It's paying attention at a pretty basic level. And so the most common mindfulness practice is to pay attention to your breath. And so if you will, close your eyes right now and take a couple breaths with me. Mindfulness doesn't mean being at peace, so it's okay, whatever feeling you come into this space with. I would like you now to turn your attention towards the object that you picked, that you chose at the entrance, or if you're in the choir, Chuck came nicely, and because I forgot about the choir, sorry, choir. And whatever it is, as your eyes are still closed, pay attention to the texture. How does it feel? Does it feel smooth, cold, warm, medium? Do you like the texture? Do you dislike it? Does it remind you of something good? Like if you have a smooth piece of glass, do you think of something pleasant, like being at the beach and finding pieces of glasses or shells that are smooth? Or does it remind you of something you have at home that has these little objects? Does it remind you of a person? Pay attention to what comes up. It is your breath. It is your feelings. Are your feet planted on the ground? Are you squirming? Would you like this to end soon? These are all things that can come to mind. Would you like to hold on to the thing, or would you like to let it go? So whatever it is, Please notice it. This is how we pay attention. This is how we can pay attention in life, too, to other things. And as you slowly come back to the room, you can put your thing down and open your eyes back up. And now Alan will sing any children that want to go to room C1 out. I am here, so I cannot accompany, but...
Good morning. My name is Emily J. Cox. I'm the chair of the Canvas Committee. Did I miss something? Okay, good. During the month of March, my pronouns are she, hers, and captain. I'm here to report on our progress so far. So far, we have 93 pledges totaling $253,000. This is a very good start. Yes, thank you. Our goal is $425,000. What this means is we've heard from 51% of our households, and we're 60% of the way there. A nice, strong start, but in other words, we will need everyone's participation in order to actually meet our goal. So if you pledged early, thank you so much. Your name is in a raffle that I'll be drawing at coffee hour after the service. Half the people who chose to automatically renew their pledge are included in today's drawing as well. The other half are going to be later in the month. The lucky winner will have their choice between these two attractive hats. Okay? If you have not pledged yet, or if your pledge is on auto-renew and you find you are in a position to increase it from last year, if you would be able to increase your pledge by $25 a month, which would be $300 a year, something to think about. We know that not everyone is in a position to increase their pledge. But if this is something you can manage, it would mean a lot to the church. As fixed costs for things such as utilities and insurance go up, without some increased pledges, we fall behind. Next week, we're going to have another drawing for anyone who increased their pledge over last year. So if you auto-renewed and you decide to increase your pledge amount this week, you will be in next week's drawing. Unitarian Universalists encourage questions. If you haven't pledged because you have questions about how this works, what it means, what your pledge will support, I'm sure you're not alone. Please come and find me. I'll be happy to answer your questions. I was a reference librarian for over 40 years, and I love questions. So during the month of March, we really want to focus on celebrating and strengthening our bonds in this voluntary, shared community. This month, church members will be hosting simple potluck meals in their homes. At supper time, we'll have heavy appetizers, or in the afternoon, we're going to have coffee and snacks. There's a link to sign up in the church e-newsletter, and I can also get you signed up after the service if you can come find me. I should be easy to find. There won't be any formal program or financial talk at these gatherings. Just come and enjoy getting to know others from church in a smaller group. And as another way to get to know each other better, now we will hear from church member Laura Zacher, who will share some of her journey to First Unitarian.
Hello, I'm Laura Zacher. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I want to thank the Canvas Committee and especially Emily for inviting me to provide my affirmation this morning. I began my religious journey after a sibling's death disrupted our family. Searching during those impressionable years, preteen and teen years, certain there was no God, and offended at 15 when the church asked me for money. Our family of 6 surviving children didn't have much on a teacher's salary, and allowance was unheard of, and I had no money to give. Still, I was on the journey that led into a little more clarity in my 20s, and my first visit to the Kansas City All Souls Unitarian Universalist Church near the Nelson Art Gallery, where I was delighted to meet people who weren't concerned about a Trinity religious structure. In my 30s, I lived in Columbia, Missouri, and got involved in the Unitarian Church there, where I found Sister Circle, a group of women wanting to explore ceremonies of different religions, and particularly agrarian cultures, such as Wiccan and Native American experiences. I had been exploring the latter separately, learning about the 4 directions ceremonies to open an activity. We ended up writing a pagan musical that purposefully used only songs to convey our collective understanding of the experience of women in the many patriarchal societies of the world. It was a somber chanting event that we performed for the church. I subsequently joined the CUPS, the Covenant of Unitarian Universalist Pagans, for a while, until Zach, my husband, and I met and married and moved to Virginia Beach, where I got involved in the work of the Unitarian Church of Norfolk, Virginia. In Norfolk, I became more connected to community activism and got involved in the church's internal soul searching and outreach work, attending workshops on dismantling racism, helping the Rotary-supported home repairs, and assisting a history professor who helped organize Universalist conferences every 3 years. While I still hadn't resolved my spiritual beliefs, Norfolk is where I joined the church and leaned into tithing. It had been a commitment my husband and I have embraced. It has been a commitment we've embraced ever since. We came to St. Louis in 1999, and I have enjoyed working on the Partner Church Committee and the First Church Community Fund for about 25 years. I have finally settled on the simplest understanding of a higher power. For me, it is love. It is, if the common saying, God is love, or goddess is love, if that is the driver, then I'm committed. But that's where it stops for me. In the words of the comedian Taylor Tomlinson, don't capitalize God without my permission. The people here are wonderful, and I'm honored to call many of you friends, and I look forward to coming more often and continuing to meet more people now that Zach and I have retired. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. We pay attention to the needs of others when we share both joys and concerns. You're invited to come forward as I read and drop a stone in the bowl for those things holding you down, or blow bubbles as you return to your seat for things holding you up. So now is the time in our service when we connect with one another by sharing our sorrows and concerns. This week in our congregation, we send healing thoughts and prayer for the daughter of Sabrina Trupia, co-worker who has sepsis. We send safe wishes to Dean Burns' son, Andrew, who is living and working in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. We are saddened to learn of the passing of former member John Faring, and we send our sympathy to his wife, Allison, and the rest of his family. And our condolences to Catherine and TJ Hunter on the recent passing of Tom's mother. We hold the complexity of emotions about conflict in Iran. We grieve the possibility of ongoing war and a broader conflict across the region. And we also support the Iranians here and abroad who were hoping better for their country, knowing that many celebrate the possibility of regime change. We hold these concerns with tenderness and compassion. May they be lighter because they are shared. As a community, we also share our joys and celebrations with one another, and I saw a few bubbles there. Mindy Allen's niece is recovering well from heart transplant surgery and should be home in a couple of weeks. Yay. And we lift up these joys, spoken and unspoken, with gladness and celebration. May they be magnified because they're shared. At times of fear, uncertainty, and trauma, we center and calm ourselves by grounding in the present moment. With many joys and concerns remaining unspoken in our hearts and minds, please join me in a spirit of prayer and mindful attention with words from the Reverend Scott Tyler. Sometimes the world outside can be so loud, making it hard to hear those voices we once knew so well. And so to silence we turn, to listen for the echoes of memories that make us whole, the pain of others that reawakens our hearts, and the beauty of this wildly generous world that wants us back. This is the attention that saves us, heals us, opens us, expands us. So friends, in the stillness of the space, let us not just listen for clarity and guidance, but to become larger. Those voices whispering from deep within are not just calling us home, they are home. We must remember this. What we give our attention to is what we become. Yes, sometimes the world outside us can be so loud, leaving us lost. But the quiet always remains, waiting and willing to be our companion, gently calling us to shift our attention and reclaim ourselves. Amen, and blessed be. St. Louis strives to be a welcoming congregation, inspiring lives of loving kindness and integrity by nurturing spirituality, building community, and advancing justice. Your gift supports the mission and ministry of this congregation in the St. Louis region and beyond. Today's non-pledge offerings in the collection will go to Trinity Hot Lunch, Our congregation joins with other religious institutions in our area to support a weekly healthy hot lunch program that serves at Trinity Episcopal once a week. Up to 80 to 100 individuals are served, and any leftovers given to customers are used to supplement the following weekday meal. This program does not receive any funds from the operating budget and solely relies on the designated collections for funding. This morning's offering will now be received.
While the choir's coming up, this is your second chance to be involved. And this one's even easier. So easy, we're not even going to put it up on the screen. All you have to sing is this. Can you play it, Dean? 100, 1,000, 1,000,000 voices. That's it. That's all you need to sing. Do that. 3 and 4 and 100, 1,000, 1,000,000 voices. That's it. You may feel inclined to change your dynamic level or your intensity level with what the choir is doing, and that's great. There's 2 times I'm going to ask you to stop singing, and I'll do that to you. That's because the choir is doing something different, and that won't fit in. Okay? Here we go.
I want to thank the choir for this beautiful rendition. Thank you for singing it again. Anybody who pledged, offer time, talent, or treasure, and a special shout out to the volunteers who teach OWL who are not here because we had a lock-in overnight and they're super tired and they went home. See Wilkie and Jasmine Ratliff, and they're superheroes. So, Jan? Yeah.
We have 3 readings today. First, this is from the 100th anniversary booklet, History of the Southside Day Nursery. All right. Which today is known as the Southside Early Childhood Center. The booklet came out in 1986. This is what it said in this booklet. In 1886, March 17th, 15 ladies met at the home of Mrs. G.F. Durant, 2329 Whittemore Place, to make arrangements for the establishment of a day nursery in the southern part of the city for poor children. 1 week later, with 17 women present, a committee was appointed, articles of organization submitted. During May, 27 children were taken care of at the nursery. The founders of the nursery also met monthly to sew children's clothes, sheet towels, and blankets. Several churches took over the sewing. The second reading is the current version of the history of the Southside Early Childhood Center on their webpage, www.southside.ecc.org. In 1886, the story of one seamstress sparked the idea for the Southside Day Nursery. The worker, who came from Milwaukee, told her employer that she had no safe place to leave her children during the day. Seeing a true need in a city, a group of women from a sewing group at St. Louis Church of the Unity decided to act. The first meeting took place on March 17, 1886. On that day, 15 women met at the home of Mrs. G.F. Durant. In order to help the seamstress from Milwaukee, others like her, Mrs. Durant and her friends decided to create a day nursery, or child care center, in the southern part of the city. On May 3rd, the Southside St. Louis Nursery opened its doors. 1 child came that day. Since many people in the neighborhood spoke German or Bohemian, pamphlets were soon printed in those languages. By the end of its 5th year, Southside carried as many as 24 children in a day. The Unitarian women who organized the Southside Day Nursery lived in a new middle-class neighborhood on South St. Louis's South Side. Their long-term commitment allowed the Southside Day Nursery to have a stable organization for decades. Mrs. C.M. Woodward was president for 23 years, from 1887 to 1907. The next president, Mrs. Anthony Intner, had the role for 16. Mrs. Strax was a board member for more than 25 years. And finally, our third reading is an excerpt from the book, Silencing the Past, Power and the Production of History, by Haitian historian Michel Rolfe Trouillot, a provocative analysis demonstrating how power operates, often invisibly, at all stages in the making of history to silence certain voices. And here's what they say. History reveals itself only through the production of specific narratives. Only a focus on the way these narratives intertwine in a particular context, can we discover the differential exercise of power that makes some narratives possible and silences others? Any historical narrative is a particular bundle of silences, which are the result of a unique process, and the operation required to deconstruct these silences will vary accordingly.
See that? That's a picture of my family. The one of the leftmost, to your most left, that's my grandma and her siblings. And then my great-grandfather and my great-grandmother are sort of in the center of the thing. And I don't know if from here you can see it. I try to make it as big as possible without losing details. My great-grandmother's mouth has been scratched off. Can you see that? In fact, the whole bottom half of her face is not there. And what I discovered recently is that I'm mad about this. I'm mad about this, but I wasn't always. The family tells the story that great-grandma saw the picture, and she scratched off her mouth because it didn't look right, which, crystallizes in my mind a person that is maybe vain, maybe a little too entitled. This is an expensive thing to do in 1918. And so she's this unchanging character, forever remaining in my mind as the one that scratched it. The mouth, I wasn't always mad, but, now I don't know anything else about her. All I know is she scratched the picture and she eliminated some important information about her face. It restricted the things I know about her and, foreclosed on the possibility of me getting to know her better, both, physically and figuratively. And I didn't ask myself that when I was little. I came across this, I don't know how many years ago. I've always been nosy. I know the stories, the timelines, the names, the relationship of a big chunk of my family. I am now the depository of their memories, such as they are. Except, I don't know what she looks like. And that means something, because I have a bunch of pictures from my ancestors that I don't know who these people are, and it could be great-grandma that is among them, because I don't really know what she looked like. So I have this pile of pictures. I don't know names. I don't know anything historical, and now there is no one left who actually has first-hand account of this. No one can tell me. And I guess I said I was mad, but I'm actually sad. And really, I don't think my great-grandma did that maliciously. I don't think she was just vain. I don't think she was just entitled. Sometimes, and it still happened though, sometimes we discard things that we deem unimportant and end up being important to other people or to specific stories or histories, and we don't do it on purpose. It's not like we want to leave no trace of a presence. And we cannot keep everything just in case it's important. That's a little bit much. And sometimes we don't have a sense of why something would be so important. And sometimes we think there's still time to correct something. There's still time for one more picture. I know I've done this. Memories and documents and the narratives we build that are based on them and the silences become part of our family history or the history of a congregation. They are important, and we need to pay attention to them. For one thing, we're made of memories. The way we create ourselves, the way we answer, who are we, where do we come from, and where are we going? Those answers are created through memory. And we know from scientific research, neuroscience, that not all memories are created equal. We don't remember everything we've ever done ever, but we do remember our math teacher in middle school. I don't know, I do. And what we emphasize is what we remember. What we put attention to is what we remember. And the quality of our memories changes over time. And so maybe 20 years ago, you remembered that something was square and yellow, and then you go, well, maybe it wasn't square, maybe it was circular, maybe it wasn't yellow, maybe it was brown, maybe it was red, maybe it was reddish brown. This is something that happens because our brain does a thing that is called neuronal pruning, which if you don't use a memory and if you don't use a thing, the brain eliminates it to give more room for other things. I don't know why my brain doesn't prune away some of the earworms that I wake up with every day. Yeah, but other things get pruned away. And so when our neurons get recycled, our memory, the memories that are stored there, they go away, or they may, or part of it goes away. And even though a congregation doesn't have a brain with neurons per se, it behaves like that too, where things that aren't remembered or are in the front of our mind tend to go away for the collective memory, tend to be recalled in a different way, but that doesn't mean that they didn't happen or that they won't repeat just because we didn't know that they happened. History reveals itself only through the production of specific narratives. This was in the last little bit of reading that we did. History reveals itself only through the production of specific narratives. And in that book that I quoted from, there is a really good case to be made for the history that ends up in history books and how power determines what is made historically relevant and not. That book is about, in part, the history of the Haitian Revolution, which has been sort of obliterated by history because people don't want to know that it was possible to have a successful revolution made out of enslaved people in Haiti. So, but that stands true for histories of individuals or families or church communities, although the argument is not so cut and dried. I was at the Fielder Dreams fundraiser last month, and although my table did miserably bad with the movie trivia, I knew a lot of the history questions because I'm nosy and I'm a nerd and I'm interested in the history of the churches that I've been at, and I like good stories. So I was curious, I was wondering, do you guys know about this place, about the history of this place? And I see some people have taken the newcomer class with me, so I know they know a little bit, but I don't know about you. Do we all know who the founder was? Yes? Yes? Elliot. Yes, very good. This building was dedicated in 1917, around the end of the First World War. What was this building, what was the congregation called when the building was dedicated? Church of the Unity, yeah, good. I didn't bring prizes. Those are all for the world religion bingo at the RE right now. So that's the Dodson room where we're going to have the newcomer chat at 11:30. Who was Dodson? A minister? I see people shrugging their heads. Yes, he was a minister. He wrote hymns. Very good. From the choir, of course, you would know. So Dodson was a hymnodist of some renown in this time and a minister of this congregation. What about Hosmer? The Hosmer room is the room next to the chaos closet there in the back. No? Another minister. That's a good guess. But what church was he minister of? No. All the rooms here are named after ministers that were minister in the Church of the Unity, because this was Church of the Unity building before the merger. So yeah, let me just stop this grilling of you and say a few facts. The First Unitarian Church of St. Louis, as most of you seem to know, came from the merger of Church of the Unity and Church of the Messiah in the mid-30s. I'm not really good with dates, and I could have looked it up, but I didn't. The Church of the Unity was a spin-off of the Church of the Messiah, which was founded in 1835 by Eliot. Church of the Unity was a new church plant. There wasn't a big drama why they split off from Church of the Messiah. It was a new plant because a lot of the congregation had moved near Lafayette Park, which is where the first building was. This is the second building. And they did not, at the time, in 1870, they did not want to travel all the way to near Locust Street, which was a ways from where they lived. And so they wanted a place closer, right? A new suburb, it said in the reading. And you know, Eliot preached there a number of times, and they waited to inaugurate the church until he came back from Europe. They waited for him. They wanted to do it first, but then they wanted to wait for him. So it was a peaceful new plant there. But the thing is that the two churches merged in the 30s, and they came to this building, which the implication is that the Church of the Unity was the place that offered to have the Church of the Messiah come here. Which is all an interesting story to me, because that's not what I heard at all for all the years that I've been here in various capacities. I didn't know anything about Church of the Unity, except that the founder started some extremely big things and was very important, and not just in the story of the city, but also in being the ancestor of a bunch of people that were presidents of the American Unitarian Association. So, but he wasn't the only one to do things, right? I learned recently, because I'm nosy and I'm a nerd, that the Church of the Unity had a lot of programming for young people, for people of high school age. And the programming was both Unitarian and Universalist, and scientific and not scientific. And they invited religious leaders from other religions. And they had theater, and they had dinner things. And they started a sewing group that ended up being the Women's Alliance. And they did really fundraising, good fundraising. They were very creative. They had movie nights in the 20s. So really cool stuff that I didn't know about. And then there's the story of the Early Childhood Center, which used to be called the Southside Nursery, which I really like this story. And also, it's important how the story is told. Depending when you became aware of the organization, you may have heard something like the first reading that, 15 ladies met at the home of Mrs. G.F. Durant. Or you may have said, you may have read that they were Unitarian women that met at the home of Mrs. G.F. Durant. I looked at the early version of the story of the Southside Center Nursery, and there is no reference to the church at all in the published booklet and in the first draft that exists in our archives. I looked. They mentioned churches down the line when they became an interfaith group, like when they fundraised with other churches. And that's the version that was around much longer, I think, than the one on the website. That reminded of my great-grandma's mouth. Why wasn't there a sentence that indicated the Church of the Unity did that? Maybe because sometimes when we aren't intentional with institutional memory, it gets pruned away. Maybe because these women that were called Mrs. plus the name of their husbands weren't considered to be important enough to be remembered on their own. And we heard in the third reading, any historical narrative is a particular bundle of silences that takes a unique process to deconstruct. Maybe these are the bundles of silence, these women. Now, I'm not being polemic. I'm not saying that these silences were designed on purpose. It might have been that the historian that wrote the first version of the origin story of the Southside Early Childhood Center thought that Mrs. Durant's name was so unequivocally tied to the Church of the Unity that it didn't need to be mentioned that she was a member of Church of the Unity, that was like, everybody knows it. That's redundant. And so it got omitted. But like I said, whether or not it was a malicious intent, their end result is the same. Not everybody knows the story, right? Not everybody knows the story. Hopefully after this, you will know that there were Unitarian women involved in the funding of a very important early childhood center in St. Louis. But what I want to say is that when we don't know the story, or we don't know very well, or there are silences, that narrows our view of who we are, what are we, where are we going. And it makes us hang on way tighter to the idea of something else, that we are something else, which may be complete or inaccurate. Just like I can't help but think that my great-grandmother was a little bit vain. Right? Think about it. If we think that in the story of our faith community, of this faith community, come from the merger of two churches, there's only one big specific piece of history that defines us, or one big historical personality that we value. And if, say, we find out that this big historic personality is human and complex and has lights and darks in their personality, we're going to react a lot more strongly when we find out about the not so good things rather than the good things, because we think that's all we have, that's all the history we have, and if we start dissing that, what else do we have left? While if instead we know that we have a big, complex 191 years history of this congregation, with many people, many good action, many ups and downs, and we can be proud, and we can hold opposing facts in a dialectic tension. We can be, in general, better be proud of the community that was dreamed by all that long ago by the founders and by the people that went to Church of the Unity and the people that came after them. And we can also be critical of it, but with love. That doesn't mean we don't like them. We just know about our history. And what I'm trying to say is that as a congregation, we need to pay attention to all of our past in order to act in the present and move to the future. Because we are our memories and our history, whether we know it or not. And it behooves us to be curious and nosy, and to be intentional and tell the stories, good and bad alike, so we may grow from them, we can get ideas from them. Author Rebecca Solnit recently said in an interview, one of the great weaknesses of our era is that we get lone superhero movies that suggest that our big problems are solved by muscly guys in spandex, when actually the world mostly gets changed through collective effort. And she just wants us to understand that most of the important change is collective. And we, First U, are in a time in the history of this congregation when we're envisioning what we want for the future. For one thing, as you heard, it's Canvas Month. And so Canvas always makes us think about the future and what do we want for next year and the year after that and the year after that. But also, if you participated in the midwinter meeting or the Zoom call that was last night that was part of the midwinter meeting to dream of things we want for the future, you know that there's a planned 3-year rolling strategic planning afoot, right? I see nodding? Okay. You know this, right? Okay. And so this is the time to dream big and to look to our history for guidance. The ladies of Church of the Unity, these direct faith ancestors of ours, saw a need in the community and they sought to fill it in a way that made sense for them and for their times. They got together, they helped, and in the way they knew. And so, what does collective change look like at First U right now? Right now, in the present, I'm not talking about the future, we have a human rights vigil on Tuesdays at 4. We do lunch once a month after service. All these things are open to all. We're showing up for the No King rally. We're showing up for other rallies. You can join us. Can we do more? Certainly, we can do a lot more. And if you have ideas that you want to tell us about collective change that can get us to beloved community, let us know. Just, tell us in the receiving line, grab us at coffee hours. Paying attention to history and story is not simply an intellectual exercise, something I'm just telling you to do because it's cool to think about these things. I want to invite you to consider what does it mean for each of you to be part of collective change. And look, collective change doesn't need to be, we're all going to do the revolution on our own. Like, collective change is collective. We help each other. We rest when we're tired. We don't have to build the barricades, not yet anyway. But you can show up. In fact, we must show up. And to show up today in 2026 in a way that will promote our values in 20, 50, and 100 years means knowing all the history and all the stories of these places, or as many as we can get. Paying attention to history is what fosters hope and creativity so that we can build a more just and loving world. So may it be. And now please rise as you're willing and able and join us for our closing hymn, which is actually our hymn of the month, which we're playing at the end today, To See the World, and we'll sing it twice. to read you something I found from Church of the Unity. They had cards too. That makes me happy. Like, we have cards too. It says, it's an invitation. This church keeps open house and delights to be of service. Visitors are always welcome, and though no one is urged to join, new members are desired and cordially received. There is a special reason for taking an active part in our spiritual enterprise. Passivity does not succeed in business, love, or religion. He who would be loved must show love. He who would find must seek. Moreover, there are 100 people who will support what is traditional to one who will stand for a brave and beautiful idealism, for an attempt to ceaselessly revise thought in the direction of truth, to foster noble ideals and remake our lives and institutions. Our church is not perfect. We need your help in making it a more efficient instrument for the promotion of ideal interests in this city. Many have found here a deep satisfaction, serenity and peace, courage and hope, and a joyous sense that life is worthwhile. We wish that it may more and more become a church of the Spirit, the good spirit of the best life. If you are willing to help us in the highest order of human service, we cordially invite you to place your name on our roll, or if you prefer, sign the following card and place it in the contribution basket. Go in peace and be blessed. Amen.